Greetings, Arts Beatniks. It's the KC Arts Beat Report. I'm Patrick Neese. And Valentine's Day is upon us. And if you're looking for one of the most memorable nights out that you can imagine for Valentine's Day, I'm here to tell you all about it with my special guest today. It includes a three-course dinner, a fabulous concert of some of the most dreamy, romantic music by Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven, and then after that, champagne and chocolates. But before we talk to you about that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the KC Arts Beat Report on YouTube, subscribe to our Substack page, and follow us on Facebook. Right now, it's time, though, to say hello to Carolyn Watson, who is the principal guest conductor of the Kansas City Chamber Orchestra. She's also the conductor of the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra and does a lot of freelance work. Carolyn, I understand you've also conducted the Kansas City Ballet and the Lyric Opera of Kansas City as well.
Yes, that's right. I absolutely have.
Well, it's great to have you in town for this Valentine's Day concert, which I want to tell people right off the bat is going to be happening at 6:30 p.m. on February 13th, and that's going to be at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art. That's a great venue for a concert, isn't it, Carolyn?
I'm looking forward to it. I've not actually performed there before, but from everything that I've heard, I think it's going to be a terrific fit. Yes.
And then it's going to be preceded by a fantastic three-course meal. But, mostly I want to talk to you about the meat and potatoes of the evening, which is the concert. And it's quite a program you've put together. All classical era composers, Mozart, Haydn, and Beethoven. And you're going to have a special guest too, violinist Anna Marie Brown. And
That's right.
and she's going to be performing a couple of works by Beethoven that are very close to you. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes, she's going to be performing the first and second romances by Beethoven for violin and orchestra. Beethoven wrote these two pieces, separated by a number of years, actually, and they're a cornerstone of the repertoire. I think most violinists grow up performing them, as did I as a young violinist. I certainly enjoyed studying these works. I've never presented them as a conductor, so I'm very much looking forward to, getting on the other side of the score, as it were, and joining with Anne Marie Brown in these two works by Beethoven.
Well, I'm curious about their original performances, I mean, they're not super long works. So, how did they fit into a concert back in Beethoven's day?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure I actually have the answer to that. As we know, concerts back in Beethoven's day were very varied, and they often included an amalgam, some new works, some works that were repeated. And if a work was particularly popular, it would be repeated right there and then. We know, for example, the premieres of some of his symphonies literally had popular movements repeated in the concert. So it may well have been written for a smaller salon. I mean, there are piano reductions, as there are with most solo instruments and orchestra. And of course, when I learned them as a young violinist, I grew up playing with the piano part as opposed to the orchestral part that we will be presenting in the concert. So I think that's a very interesting question. In fact, we'll have to do a little bit more research and go back and find Beethoven's intent.
And by the way, you must have learned these pieces in Australia. I can tell by your accent. You're not from Kansas. So you hail all the way from Australia. I have to ask you, how'd you end up in the US?
I took a job basically. I came over for work. I moved to the US in 2013, and that was to take up the position of conductor of the Interlochen Arts Academy Orchestra. So that was the job that brought me to America.
I see. Well, we're glad to have you here. I hope you're enjoying your time in our country.
I'm
Uh,
glad to be here.
well, let's talk about the rest of the concert. It's all classical era music, which is interesting for a Valentine's Day concert. You'd think we think of the Romantic era, I think we give short shrift to the classical era composers for their romanticism. But they had a romantic streak, didn't they?
They definitely did. And as for this particular program, I mean, the first two works that I programmed were the Beethoven romances, and I built the program around that. In terms of just the practicalities of putting together a concert with the Kansas City Chamber Orchestra, it is a chamber orchestra. It's not a full symphonic orchestra, so we're slightly limited in terms of what we're able to do in terms of romantic repertoire that you mentioned there. So that was something to keep in mind. And I was looking for what might be a good fit alongside these two, um, as you mentioned, rather short works by Beethoven, and came up with this quirky little Mozart symphony that he wrote when he was a teenager. But it's got a four movement format. Some of his early symphonies have three movements, but this one does in fact have four movements. So Symphony number 15, that's what we're opening the program with. And then we, together with Maestro Bruce Sorrell, we agreed on this Haydn symphony. I had initially proposed a different Haydn symphony, and he had suggested one of the six, seven, or eight, the morning, noon, or evening symphonies, and we agreed on the morning symphony, which opens with a magnificent sunrise.
Yes. Mozart, I said that we don't really associate hard on the sleeve with classical era composers, but actually, thinking about it, Mozart definitely was a romantic. You think of all of his operas, Marriage of Figaro, and all of that. He just seemed his love for Costanza. He definitely had a Valentine's Day streak to him.
He totally did.
Well, it's a great concert you put together. And as I mentioned earlier, the package includes, it's called a Sweetheart Package, and it includes a table for two, special wine pairings. And again, the atmosphere at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art is just perfect for a romantic night out. And then following the concert, there will be champagne and chocolates. It's the total package. And I forgot to mention the name of the concert is The Music of Love. So, it's very appropriate. It's great that you are the principal guest conductor of the Kansas City Chamber Orchestra. How long have you had that position, Carolyn?
I've been associated with the Chamber Orchestra now, I think, for 6 or so years.
Uh-huh. And I
So
have
not
to
long after I moved to Kansas City.
I have to ask you about your thesis, which I read about. It really caught my attention because I'm a fan of this conductor. But your thesis was about Carlos Kleiber, and I think it's kind of pertinent because, he is considered his recordings of the Fifth and Seventh symphonies by Beethoven are considered, the reference recordings of those works. Has Carlos Kleiber informed your own conducting?
Oh, definitely. Yes, he's a long-held hero of mine, and I think he's a hero of many conductors, to be honest.
So, in what way does he influence you, or how does he hover over your baton?
Yes, that's a great question. I think, the thing about Kleiber, it's the translation of all of the musical details into gesture. So I think that serves as my inspiration.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing, you know, the spirit of Carlos Kleiber as well as your own unique take on this great music by Mozart, Beethoven, and Haydn. Again, the concert is at 6:30 p.m., February 13th, the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art. It's called The Music of Love. To reserve your space, and I encourage you to do that soon because I suspect this will sell out quickly, go to kcchamberorchestra.org. That's kcchamberorchestra.org. Carolyn, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope that we'll speak again the next time you're in town to conduct the Kansas City Chamber Orchestra, or maybe the Kansas City Ballet or the Lyric Opera.
It's been great speaking with you too, Patrick.
Look forward to the concert as well. I'm Patrick Neese, and you've been listening to the KC Artsbeat Report. Again, I'd like to encourage you to please subscribe to KC Artsbeat on YouTube and subscribe to our Substack page and follow us on Facebook. And until next time, take care.